Please video like and subscribe this channel. Beginning, the quiet arrival. The galaxy had known humanity for only 5 years. 5 short years since humans first stepped beyond their solar system and made contact with other intelligent species. To the great empires of the stars, humanity was insignificant, technologically behind, politically fractured, and biologically fragile. Humans were tolerated, observed, and quietly dismissed. They were not feared. They were not respected. They were certainly not understood. When the interstellar transport vessel Aurora's Grace docked at the neutral station of Veliz Prime, no one paid much attention. The station was enormous, a floating city where dozens of species traded knowledge, minerals, and diplomacy. Humans were rare visitors, usually diplomats or scientists. This time, however, one passenger stood out. Her name was Lena Carter. She was 8 years old. Lena clutched a small backpack to her chest as she stepped onto the station's glowing platform, her eyes wide with wonder. Lights shimmered in colors she had no names for. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved past her, some tall and crystalline, others floating like living clouds, some covered in fur, scales, or metallic skin. To Lena, it felt like stepping into a storybook. To the aliens watching her, it was confusing. Human children were almost never seen in space. Most species believed space travel was far too dangerous for offspring. Some cultures raised their young in isolation until adulthood. Others believed emotional bonding weakened survival instincts. And yet here was a human child, holding her father's hand, smiling at everyone. Dr. Evan Carter, Lena's father, was part of a cultural exchange program. Veliz Prime had requested a small human delegation to observe how humans educated their young. Lena had insisted on coming. "They need to see we're not scary," she had said. Evan hadn't expected her to be so right. Middle, the candy exchange. The station's recreation dome was designed as a neutral learning space for juvenile members of different species. Alien children gathered there under the watchful eyes of elders and translators, studying one another from a safe distance. When Lena entered the dome, the chatter stopped. Alien children stared at her with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Some hid behind caretakers. Others tilted their heads, studying her movements. A few hissed or emitted soft warning sounds. Lena felt the tension immediately. She reached into her backpack. Her father noticed. "Lena, what are you doing?" "Making friends," she whispered. She pulled out a small handful of brightly colored candies, simple human sweets wrapped in shiny paper. They were nothing special. Just sugar, flavoring, and nostalgia from Earth. Lena walked slowly toward a group of alien children sitting near a fountain of glowing liquid light. They had long limbs, smooth silver skin, and large reflective eyes. One of them recoiled when she approached. Lena stopped. She remembered what her teacher had told her back on Earth. When someone looks scared, smile gently and don't rush. So she sat down on the floor instead. She unwrapped a candy and placed it between them. "It's sweet," she said softly. "You don't have to eat it if you don't want to." The translators hesitated, struggling to interpret something so informal. The alien children stared at the candy. One of them extended a delicate finger and touched it. The candy dissolved slightly under the heat of their skin. The child flinched. Then laughed. It was a strange sound, musical, echoing, but unmistakably laughter. Another alien child reached forward. Then another. Soon, Lena was unwrapping candy after candy, handing them out freely. She laughed too, delighted by their reactions, how their skin changed color, how some floated briefly in excitement, how others chirped happily. Around the dome, elders and diplomats watched in stunned silence. This was not how first contact lessons were supposed to happen. No treaties. No translators. No political posturing. Just a child, sharing candy. Ripples through the station. Within hours, recordings of the interaction spread across Vilas Prime. Scholars replayed the footage repeatedly. Military analysts dismissed it as irrelevant. Philosophers argued late into the cycle. One question echoed everywhere. Why would a species allow their child to act so freely among unknown beings? The alien elders approached Dr. Carter with caution. "Does your species not fear loss?" asked Elder Saran, a tall being whose voice vibrated through the air. "Your child showed vulnerability without protection." Dr. Carter looked at Lena, now playing a game of shapes with the alien children. "We teach our children that kindness is not weakness," he said. "It's how we survive." Saran considered this. Among many alien cultures, survival was taught through dominance, isolation, or rigid control. Children were trained, tested, and hardened. Compassion was often secondary or absent. Yet the human child had achieved in minutes what diplomats failed to do in decades: trust. Over the following days, alien children began requesting Lena's presence. Other human children were invited. Games replaced drills. Shared meals replaced segregated learning. The recreation dome transformed into something unprecedented. A place of empathy. The galactic response. News reached the Galactic Council, the highest authority governing interstellar relations. Representatives from dozens of species gathered, demanding explanations. Humans manipulate through emotional bonding, accused one warlord species. "This is psychological warfare," claimed another. But evidence told a different story. Violence among juvenile groups on Vilas Prime dropped sharply. Cross-species cooperation increased. Caretakers reported improved cognitive development and emotional stability. Most alarming of all, for the old powers, was this. Alien children began questioning long-held beliefs. Why don't we share like humans? Why do we have enemies before we even know them? Why is kindness rare? These questions frightened empires built on fear. Some worlds attempted to ban human interaction. It didn't work. Children remembered. Candy had become a symbol not of sugar, but of choice. Of giving without expecting return. Climax, the Council's decision. The Galactic Council summoned Lena and her father. Lena stood before beings that ruled star systems, her feet barely touching the floor of the council chamber. She clutched one final piece of candy in her hand. The High Arbiter spoke. "Human child," the voice echoed, "do you understand the consequences of your actions?" Lena thought for a moment. "I just wanted to share," she said. "Candy tastes better when you're not alone." Silence filled the chamber. Then, something unprecedented happened. Elder Saran stepped forward. "For millennia, we taught our young to prepare for war," the elder said. "In days, this child has shown us another path." One by one, representatives stood not in agreement, but in reflection. The council voted. Not for an alliance. Not for a treaty. But for a new initiative. The Compassion Exchange Program, a galaxy-wide effort allowing children of different species to learn together, freely, without political agendas. It passed narrowly. The old empires resisted. But history had already shifted. Ending a sweeter galaxy. Years later, Lena barely remembered the fear she'd felt that first day. She remembered the laughter. The galaxy changed slowly, but permanently. Wars did not vanish overnight. Fear did not disappear. But something fundamental had been altered. A generation grew up knowing another way. On distant worlds, alien children shared their equivalents of candy energy crystals, glowing fruit, harmonic tones. The gesture differed, but the meaning remained the same. Giving, without demand. In the archives of the Galactic Council, The moment was recorded not as a political event, but as a cultural turning point. The galaxy did not change because of weapons or wisdom, but because a human child chose to share. Lena grew older. Humanity grew stronger. But the story endured. Because sometimes, the smallest hands reshape the largest stars. And all it takes is a piece of candy.